On the evening of May 6, 1937, the largest aircraft ever built was minutes from completing another routine transatlantic crossing. 804 feet of German engineering, longer than 3 Boeing 747s placed end-to-end, drifted silently toward its mooring tower in New Jersey. There were 97 people on board. The flight had been advertised as the future of air travel. Then, in just 37 seconds, the Hindenburg became a fireball seen from 25 miles away, and the radio recording of its destruction became the most famous broadcast in journalism history. The Hindenburg wasn't just an aircraft. It was a flying symbol. Built by the Zeppelin Company in Nazi Germany, it represented the regime's claim that German technology was the most advanced on Earth. At 804 feet long and 135 feet wide, it could carry 72 passengers across the Atlantic in luxury that rivaled an ocean liner, a dining room with linen tablecloths, a smoking room, a grand piano made of aluminum, and panoramic windows that opened in flight. By 1937, it had completed 62 successful flights. The trip from Frankfurt to Lakehurst, New Jersey took just 2.5 days. A ship took 5. The Hindenburg was supposed to be the beginning of an era. Instead, it would end one. But the Hindenburg had a secret. It was filled with 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen, one of the most flammable substances on Earth. Its designers had originally intended to use helium, which doesn't burn. But helium was controlled almost entirely by the United States, and the U.S. government had banned its export to Nazi Germany under the Helium Control Act of 1927. The Germans had no choice. They built the world's largest passenger aircraft and filled it with explosive gas. Engineers added every safety system they could think of: sealed gas cells, careful grounding procedures, a strict no-smoking policy enforced by guards who confiscated matches at boarding. They believed it was safe. For 4 years, they were right. On May 3, 1937, the Hindenburg lifted off from Frankfurt for its first North American crossing of the season. On board were 36 passengers and 61 crew. The flight was uneventful, almost boring. Passengers played cards, wrote letters, and watched the Atlantic slip by below them. By the morning of May 6, the airship was over Boston. Captain Max Pruss, a veteran Zeppelin commander with thousands of flight hours, expected to land at Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey by mid-afternoon. But as they approached, a line of thunderstorms blocked the route. Pruss did what he had done dozens of times before. He waited. He circled the New Jersey coastline for nearly 3 hours, looping over Manhattan and giving passengers a sightseeing tour while the storms passed. By 7 p.m., the weather had cleared. The ground crew at Lakehurst gave permission to land. The delay would prove fatal. At 7:11 p.m., the Hindenburg made its final approach to the mooring mast at Lakehurst. The air was humid. A light rain had just stopped falling. The atmosphere was charged with static electricity from the recent storms. Captain Pruss took the airship in fast, too fast for a normal landing. To slow the massive vessel, he ordered a hard S maneuver, a sweeping turn that put extra strain on the airship's frame. Then he ordered the venting of hydrogen from the rear gas cells to balance the airship's trim. At 7:21 p.m., the mooring lines were dropped. Ground crews scrambled to grab them and walk the airship to its dock. On the ground, dozens of journalists, photographers, and newsreel cameramen waited. Among them was Herbert Morrison, a 31-year-old radio reporter from Chicago station WLS, recording what he expected to be a routine landing report. At 7:25 p.m., witnesses on the ground saw something strange. A flicker of blue flame appeared near the upper rear of the airship, just forward of the tail fin. For a fraction of a second, it looked almost beautiful, a small, dancing light. Then the entire rear of the Hindenburg erupted. Flames shot upward and outward, fed instantly by the 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen inside. The fire moved at impossible speed. Within 4 seconds, the entire tail section was engulfed. Within 10 seconds, half the airship was burning. The structure began to collapse, the rear sinking toward the ground as the nose tilted up into the sky like a burning torch. Inside the passenger cabins, people had been waving at friends and family on the ground just moments before. Now they were trapped in a falling inferno. On the ground, Herbert Morrison's calm reporter voice shattered into something the world had never heard on radio before. He described what he was seeing in real time: the flames, the falling structure, the people jumping from windows. His voice broke. He sobbed. He said the words that would echo through nearly a century of broadcasting, that this was the worst catastrophe in the world, that he could not breathe, that the humanity of it was overwhelming. His recording wasn't broadcast live. Radio networks at the time considered recorded audio unprofessional, and his equipment was experimental. But the next day, NBC made an exception. Morrison's voice played across America. It was the first time most people had heard a real-time emotional reaction to a tragedy on the radio. Modern broadcast journalism was born in those 37 seconds. It took 37 seconds for the Hindenburg to fall from the sky and crash to the ground. Inside the burning skeleton, passengers and crew faced an impossible choice: burn alive in the cabin, or jump. Some who jumped from heights of 100 feet or more survived because the airship's collapsing frame slowed its descent just enough. Others were crushed under falling girders or burned in the flaming wreckage. Captain Pruss survived. So did Werner Franz, a 14-year-old cabin boy who escaped when a water ballast tank ruptured directly above him, drenching him just before he ran through the flames. The ground crew, who could have fled to safety, instead ran toward the burning airship to pull survivors from the wreckage. Of the 97 people on board, 35 died. One ground crew member also lost his life. By any reasonable measure, given the speed and scale of the fire, it should have killed everyone. The fact that 62 people walked away is one of the most remarkable survival statistics in disaster history. Investigations began immediately. Both the United States and Nazi Germany formed commissions, but their conclusions were carefully political. Officially, the cause was ruled to be a hydrogen leak ignited by static electricity, possibly from a broken bracing wire that had punctured a gas cell during the hard turn on approach. The static charge from the humid, post-storm air would have provided the spark. But theories multiplied for decades. Some suggested sabotage, a bomb planted by anti-Nazi activists. Others blamed the airship's outer skin, which had been treated with a chemical compound similar to rocket fuel that may have ignited first. Modern reconstructions, including a 2013 study using detailed forensic models, support the static electricity theory. But what's never been disputed is the deeper cause: the Hindenburg was filled with the wrong gas. If it had been flying with helium, as originally designed, it could have leaked, sparked, and still landed safely. Instead, the political decision of one government and the engineering compromise of another put 97 people inside a flying bomb. The Hindenburg was the largest object ever to fly. It would also be the last great passenger airship. Within months of the disaster, public confidence in Zeppelin travel collapsed. Bookings for the Hindenburg's sister ship, the Graf Zeppelin II, disappeared. The Zeppelin company never carried another paying passenger. By 1940, both remaining German airships had been dismantled for scrap, their aluminum frames melted down for the German war effort. The age of the airship was over. It had lasted barely 3 decades. But the Hindenburg's legacy lived on in unexpected places. The newsreel footage shot at Lakehurst, combined with Morrison's broadcast, became the first global media event captured from multiple angles in real time. It set the template for how disasters would be covered for the next century, from the assassination of John F. Kennedy to the September 11 attacks. Every modern news broadcast carries a piece of those 37 seconds. The Hindenburg disaster wasn't caused by a single mistake. It was caused by a political ban that forced the wrong gas into the world's largest aircraft, a thunderstorm that delayed the landing into a humid, statically charged twilight, a hard turn that may have damaged a bracing wire, and a single spark that found its way into 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen. Every layer of safety was real. Every layer failed. And in 37 seconds, a symbol of the future became a warning from the past. If you made it this far, hit subscribe. There's a new disaster every week, told the way it actually happened.